It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. It's Thursday evening, March the 9th, 2017. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, gold, euro, and FDAX this evening. Crude is bearish and trying to finish rotation back up to the $50 round number. And a spike in channel is telling us exactly where to be looking for reliable trading opportunities on Friday. The S&P is bullish and trying to retest yesterday's high, but one small channel on the chart tells us to wait for a pullback, and one big clue from earlier this week reminds us not to chase this move higher. Gold is bearish, but we have four big reasons to wait for a bullish correction before selling more tomorrow. The euro looks bullish at first glance, but three big clues in the chart tell us we're most likely due for a move back to the lows tomorrow. And of course, the FDAX is also bearish, trying to retest the low of the range, but we have two important levels of support standing in the way for the sellers. They got to get through those and then back to range rotation tomorrow. Boy, it's been a great second week of the month here of March. Hope you guys had a great week with me here on the newsletter. Another big day of learning and earning opportunities though coming tomorrow, and I want to make sure you guys are ready for it. We got some big news. We get some contract rollover to watch out for. Before we jump into those charts though, I do want to remind you, the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry, there's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow that link and come join me on the blog at Sideways Markets for the full-length version and all 5 markets. While you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Follow me on social. Always important links and charts being posted on my many channels throughout the day. Download those charts. Upload video tonight. All the charts you see me using in tonight's video, you can download those charts by following that link below the video today. And then please don't forget, grab your free pass. If you're not an advanced member here at School of Trade, make sure you grab that free pass and come out and join me. You'll learn more with me in 90 minutes on that webinar than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. I can guarantee you that. And of course, don't forget, if you're brand new here, we got great frequently asked questions, and I'm always here standing by to answer all your questions 24/7, 365. We got a busy day tomorrow. Let's not waste any time here. I apologize. I'm late to the party here tonight. As you can imagine, with this big craziness in crude oil, we got a lot of work with my clients over the last few days, so I apologize. It's been a busy last 24 hours in the market. You can probably hear my voice is a little bit raspy as well, but we're going to push through here tonight and get you guys ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow's non-farm Friday, March the 10th. We got no major news on the schedule for tonight. Tomorrow, of course, Friday, March 10th. Two big things you want to be aware of tomorrow. First of all, we got rollover. That is a big deal for tomorrow. Rollover on the E-minis, rollover on the currencies. We get the rollover on the FDAX tomorrow. Gold and crude won't be until later on this month. But if you were trading the E-minis or the euro, any currency futures, or trading the FDAX, you want to be careful here. Well, not careful, but just be aware. I'm going to give you guys the current front month, but I don't have enough information yet to tell you if we're going to roll over successfully tomorrow. All markets will be rolling over to the 617 contract. They're on the 317 right now. So check the volume tomorrow. As soon as the volume is higher on the 617 contract, right, then you know, of course, it's time to make your rollover to the 617 as well, right? So be aware of that for rollover. Second thing here for tomorrow is it is a Friday. It is not just your average Friday. It is non-farm Friday here tomorrow. Let's talk briefly about the plan for non-farm Friday. Non-farm Friday has a personality all of its own. And, you know, much like we saw today on crude oil, right, having a personality of its own, tomorrow will be another example of a day that happens once a month that we got to be prepared for. Non-farm Friday, early in, early out, early in, early out. That's the big thing for Fridays overall. Non-farm Fridays are always even more important. Early in, early out. It's really important that you understand that non-farm payrolls, right, the first Friday of every 1 month, unless the first day of the month is a Friday, they pushed it back to this Friday here this month of March. There's a lot of traders out there that won't even mess with this big news report tomorrow. So please, did I say please? Please use caution tomorrow. We have some major news tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Now, we saw some real positive numbers on Wednesday from the ADP employment report, some real positive numbers at 8:15 on Wednesday. So we're looking good for a nice positive number tomorrow. Usually what happens though is it's usually very light volume and very low volume ahead of that news number tomorrow. And then usually what will happen is one of two things. When the news comes out at 8:30, the market will either sit or it will run. we have to wait and see which is going to happen. Either way, right? Either way, whether it sits or it runs, you want to stay patient and give it at least 10 minutes. Okay, the average news event will be about 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after. Really be careful tomorrow before the non-farm number comes out, and be careful afterwards. If it moves too quickly tomorrow morning after 8:30, don't chase after it. Wait for it to settle down, update your chart analysis, and then go from there. If it moves too slowly tomorrow, stay patient, give it 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes, and it will eventually find its direction where it wants to go. So again, early in, early out tomorrow. It's a Friday, right? Non-farm means be careful before the news comes out. After the news at 8:30 tomorrow, make sure you remember, give it 10 minutes. If it runs, try not to chase. Most of the time, these reactions to news are a head fake, so don't chase immediately. Give it 10 minutes. If it runs, let it calm down, and then follow that new direction, right? That will keep you out of any head fakes in the market. If it sits there tomorrow, from my memory is not that great, but the last few non-farms we've had, it's been relatively quiet after that news number came out, and you had to wait for it. One of the biggest mistakes you can make tomorrow is getting all geared up, all amped up, right, to really trade heavy on this news reaction. I highly recommend against it. A lot of times it's going to be too choppy to really predict the direction, too low volume ahead to really protect yourself. It's just really, it can be a very dangerous environment tomorrow if you aren't prepared. So promise me, if it really runs, I'm going to give you guys some charts to work with tonight. Okay, we'll go in tomorrow's session. The hardest part right now for me is trying to give you some information that's going to hold up tomorrow. When this big news comes out tomorrow, we could be literally back to square one because the ranges could be that big. We may also see all of these levels, right, stay intact because we may not get much between now and tomorrow morning at 8:30. So again, I want you to promise me here, be careful tomorrow. Tomorrow is not a day to go from simulation to live. Tomorrow is not a day to go trying out a new strategy. Tomorrow is not a day to be increasing position size. Tomorrow is a day where you go half size, right, early in, early out, and be careful. If this market is bearish and we start running heavy to the upside, do not just sell because I said there was a battle zone overhead, all right? So promise me you're not going to blindly buy into a bear market, right, or sell into a bull market just because of what I'm talking about tonight on the newsletter. I'm going to do my best to give you guys direction, right, support and resistance in an overall plan tomorrow, but all hell may break loose tomorrow morning at 8:30, and it's going to be really difficult for me to predict that, right, from where it goes from there. Okay? With that said, we'll be doing all this tomorrow morning with our students tomorrow in the trade room. Join me tomorrow morning and do it with me tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That way you don't have to go out about this on your own. All right, guys? Now, boy, crude oil has had quite the busy last few days here. Do not be surprised if tomorrow is a really low volume day on crude oil. I hope I'm wrong, but between the big drop down to 50 yesterday and this wild animal that we did a really good job today in the trade room with, today was a wild day. You could feel today felt like the old days back in 2015 when we went from 100 down to 50, right, in a few month process, right, in a few month period. Today felt like a day where everybody came into crude and was roaring to go, and it was real choppy and real sloppy. We picked up on the spike in range pretty quickly. We picked up on the trap above 50 pretty easily. That was pretty good. Did a pretty good job today in the trade room. If you guys followed the plan from yesterday, you were focused on selling high. And if you sold high today, right, you had a great session. The hard part was there was a lot of back and forth today. So with that said, big move down yesterday, choppy session today, big news tomorrow. I wouldn't be, I'll tell you right now, right about now, I personally feel like I need a little mini break, right? The last 24 hours have been really busy. You know, it could have been a good busy, or it could have been a bad busy, right? The last 24 hours, depending on how you traded it. So don't be surprised if if people say, you know what, I'm going to go really light tomorrow. I'm going to get out of the office early and call it a long weekend. I'll come back next week and we'll do it all again. So just again, careful tomorrow. Don't force it tomorrow. Don't be surprised if we see some relatively low volume. Now, let's dig into it, right? So again, crude feeling a bit beat up here right now, but I'm expecting to have another great day with our clients tomorrow in the trade room. I hope to see you there. Crude is bearish and trying to rotate up to the high of that spike in channel this evening, where we assume there'll be more sellers waiting for a move back down to the lows. Sellers will be looking for trading opportunities up above in the battle zone, but we may not make it that far because of this trend line coming in overhead. So keep an eye on buyer failure on the next pullback as well for a move back down to that low. It's a pretty straightforward chart here today. You'll notice I'm still using that 10,000 volume chart. Remember, every evening what I do is I kind of fit the chart time frame, right? It's a volume chart, so it's based on volume, right? Each candlestick in this case has 10,000 contracts of volume traded. It's a slow time frame, but I do that, right? So you'll notice I do change my time frames depending on what the market did that day. That allows me now, rather than having so much to analyze, I'd rather just make it easy on myself and you, right, to look at where the big picture is going to have us here. So looking at this today, strong move down, of course. Anytime we see a strong move down, we're expecting a move up, right, and back down to retest that low. That's exactly what happened. Now, when it comes back and retests the low, right, does it double bottom or does it go through the low? It goes through the low, right? So when it goes down, up, and then down to a new lower low, now we know, right? It's not double bottom. It's not a spike in range. It's a spike in channel, right? So we've talked about that numerous times here this week on the newsletter. So we got a spike in channel, and of course, with that spike in channel, we take the first pullback, we take the base of that channel, right? And that ultimately is the battle zone right there. That really is the correction zone, if you will, for that spike in channel. Now, you'll notice I extended that up here because the problem is we have that $50 a barrel right there. You're probably not going to see a lot of sellers that want to sell here. Right now, going through my mind is I'm a little bit skeptical of selling right at 50. I'd rather get this price up. So at least now I have that momentum now going back down to that big round number. So that really is kind of the game plan here, I'm sure, for a lot of the bears there today, for tomorrow, is get this thing up into the battle zone so we can then sell high, right, and get this price coming back down into that range. That's always the plan. Anytime, though, right, we have a spike in channel. Anytime we have a spike in channel, right, we mark up, right, the base of the channel. We mark up the first pullback. That becomes the old correction zone, and now we're looking for chances, right, for price to go up so we can sell it back down again, right, up so we can sell it back down again. Pretty simple, straightforward. We talked about this earlier on this week, and of course, don't forget, these love to give us these measured moves, right, from the high, the lowest point, the highest point, right, measured move, right? So look for that as the final target for tomorrow. We may end up just kind of rattling around, though, inside of this range, right? Selling high, taking profit of the low, right? Be careful. Be very careful selling low here. It's going to be a little bit difficult for these bears to get down to that measured move, right? Because you can see that measured move obviously is sitting down there at 48.10. Obviously, we love to think that it will make it, but what you really want to do is look for that selling opportunity up, right, and sell it back down. We may not get it all the way up. Just be aware we have that what was a rising support trend line. Now you can clearly see acting as resistance. I'm not sure how much is going to keep acting as resistance, but how you would play that would be, right, pull back, failure, and back down, right, buyer failure off the moving average and back down. Just make sure you don't sell into that no trade zone. At the same time, of course, right, we have this possible trap high and back down. That I think will be the more, right, that'll be the more difficult trade right there. I'd be looking for that price to come back up, hold, and then make the move from there. Just because that big round number, right, really want to see though is break, retest, failure, and then back down. What would it take for this market to be bullish tomorrow? A whole lot of strength, right? A whole lot of strength right now. The gig is up right now for the buyers. I don't think anybody really trusts these buyers right now. It would take a move up, failure, right? That's what the sellers want to see. And of course, it would take a move up, hold, and you're really going to have to see the market really get above and stay above that big round number. I don't like this about crude, but when it gets back to the big round number, you're going to see people just blindly just sell it. So as this market goes up, I want to see good strength from the buyers, holding a pullback and seeing explosiveness. It needs to look like the sellers are walking away from this market. And if they do, right, they're probably hunting for that prior month low up there at 51.73. Again, very difficult for me to tell exactly how this will play out tomorrow because of major news.